Okay, cool. Let's try this.
Well, we don't have to wear masks while we're eating, remember?
Couple. Got to do a couple takes.
Back up. I think your car is going to be in the way.
Oh, that's okay. Skiing or mountain biking? It's springtime in the Pacific Northwest, which means I don't have to choose one or the other. I can do both. Anyone from Portland who skis, and for that matter, every pro skier who has spent a part of their summer on Mount Hood, knows that the Timberline ski area only closes for about 2 weeks a year. Mount Hood gets positively hammered with snow all winter, and there's a patch of it, the Palmer Snowfield, that never actually quite melts away. So yeah, you can ski up here in the summer, which means you can also ski tour from the climbers parking lot into late spring or early summer. It was May 8th when we decided to climb this, and there were even snowflakes in the air when we were here. Hey guys, is Timberline to town open?
I think we're on it. Might be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is also the time of year everyone starts asking if Timberline to town is open. That's the trail that goes from Timberline down to Government Camp. It's not. It's never open when you want it to be. It's going to be open probably in late June or early July. Okay, so as is the case with me and probably a sizable fraction of other Portland area residents who learn to ski, oftentimes a lap on Palmer is someone's first introduction to ski touring. I know it was for me. Palmer is a great place to learn to ski tour. It's next to a ski area, so there's an easy bailout if you get into trouble, and it's relatively featureless, and therefore relatively predictable. It is kind of steep though, so it's definitely a black diamond run. Okay, I gotta go back to this relatively predictable. People do die on Mount Hood, okay? So please don't flame me in the comments. I know people die up here. There's a lot of people who use this mountain and people do it irresponsibly. They die, but it is a good place to learn. I promise. It is kind of steep, so it's definitely a black diamond run. This is a good place to learn ski touring, not like how to ski for the first time. It is too steep for that. Your beginner friends shouldn't be on touring skis in the first place, and for that matter, they absolutely should not be on the Magic Mile ski lift. Even though it was May when we climbed this, there was about 8 inches of brand new snow on top of the gigantic chunk of ice that the season's snowfall had turned into as it sort of sank into the canyons and then refroze there, because we had 3 weeks of really summer-like weather in April. And anyway, this kind of weird contrast between ice and fresh snow is really normal up in this environment, especially around this time of year. Palmer is kind of steep, like I said. It looks trivial from the parking lot, but it is anything but trivial. So you do need to take this seriously. It's a serious climb. I mean, it's 2,000 feet from the climber's parking lot to the top of the chairlift. So you're not even at the top of the chairlift before you've already climbed 2,000 feet. So it's fairly significant. But also keep in mind that it can get windy up here, and there are countless other ways that it can get miserable. It can turn into whiteout in no time. You need to know where you are. You need to have an idea of what you're doing up here. As far as our expedition was concerned, we picked a great day for this gimmick because it wasn't intolerably cold up here, and it wasn't intolerably hot down in Post Canyon yet. But hey, you know what's nice about climbing up Palmer? Once you get tired of climbing up Palmer, you just turn around. It's an out and back. Cut over to where the wind deposits all the nice snow and start skiing down Palmer. That's what we did, making it as far as the midpoint on the Palmer ski lift, which ends up being 1,600 feet, by the way, before we cut over to ski down. That also leads me to the other nice thing about skiing Palmer. If it is cloudy, you're not going to be up here because you can't see up here when it's super cloudy and socked in. So the times that you are up here are going to be times that it's clear. And when it's clear, there's this fantastic view all the way down the spine of the Oregon Cascades. You can see Mount Jefferson, you can see the Sisters, Central Oregon, all the stuff and things. It's commanding. It's a beautiful view. It's nice. It's nice up here. So we ate lunch, engaged in all the pageantry you kind of have to go through when you're tearing the skins off your skis, chit-chatted, had a little tea party, got to know each other better. All the things you're supposed to do when you're outside enjoying the woods while doing your weekend warrior thing. By the way, if you've never skied at Timberline in the springtime, you need to come ski at Timberline in the springtime. This descent from the top of Palmer Lift down to the bottom of Magic Mile has to be my most favorite ski run ever. I know there's nothing really technical about it, and I know it is just you French fry bomb all the way to the bottom of this, but it's such a great place to practice carving, and it's a ton of fun. Before I got into mountain biking, and Mountain biking was supposed to just be my summer skis, by the way, but it sort of ended up just taking over all my outdoor recreation attention. Anyway, before I get into mountain biking, I would buy this Timberline Spring Pass every year and just come up here by myself and just do lap after lap after lap on Palmer. You really learn how to push those shins into the front of the boots and just put edge pressure on those skis. It's seriously one of my favorite things to do in the Northwest. I mean, where else can you just do laps of like 3,500 feet of vert with a view like this all day until you're too exhausted to stand? Cool. So we cut over to the ski area for the very bottom of our descent and then ended up at the lodge. Next, we went back to our cars, put the skis on the racks, and we went to Post Canyon to shuttle to the top of Dirt Surfer, one of my favoriteest trails ever. So we got changed, got into my little cross trek with all the racks on it, and we commenced our shuttle.
Oh, there's something back there. Captain Obvious, here to help. Just here to help.
Yeah, so we had skier's legs, so we definitely did shuttle it. Of course, there was still 1,000 feet of climbing, mind you, so don't get all judgy. There's no free downhill at Post Canyon. Everybody knows that. When you shuttle to the top of Dirt Surfer, you have to ride this connector trail to the actual top. Don't be lame and only shuttle the sort of top of it. Shuttle the whole thing, or ride the whole thing. Just, it's only like a few hundred feet of climbing. Some of the funnest sections are at this very top section, and I'll concede this isn't a super easy climb, but it's worth it. Don't be a slacker. I will judge you. So I guess it is possible to drive up to the top of Dirt Surfer, as is evidenced by this car here. I don't know how they did that. Whatever, I don't care. Just ride the connector. So the dirt was incredible up here this day. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe the dirt. It's very rare one can ride Post Canyon and find hero dirt from top to bottom. The trick is to find it after the snow is melted, one day after it has rained, so the whole thing is just uniformly moist all over. Moist. Dirt Surfer kind of meanders for the first few hundred yards and then just becomes an absolute grin-inducing magic romp through the woods. Moto trails are almost always fun to ride down, and this one certainly doesn't disappoint with all the kickers, baby heads, roots, step downs, and pocket berms you would expect from a high-quality moto descent such as this one. And that was just the top section. When you get to this road crossing here, there's still like a lot more Dirt Surfer for you to enjoy. So, I mean, you are going to keep going. I guess this is something to look forward to. Everyone who's ridden this knows that there's this sort of flattish, pedally section for a short distance, and then the trail just opens up into the most magnificent of all the descents. This section is everyone's favorite, with more fast and techie chunder than you can shake a coil at. So much fun, so much radness. Then you get to this bridge, and you'll need to do some climbing for like 1/8 of a mile. It's 1/8 of them. That's fine. Just push the bike. After a little bit of climby, you'll end up at this intersection with the connector that folks, this is the actual halfway point connector that people shuttle to if there's so much snow they can only get up halfway. So that's what that is. If you're ever wondering where that goes, it just goes out to another road. Dirt Surfer is like two different trail. This lower section is the flowier section with fewer routes in it, not as many routes, and some techie sections that move fast, but otherwise it's just, oh my gosh, it's rollers and pocket berms all the way down. This trail is seriously almost always in fantastic shape because it's well taken care of. I think the OHV fees have something to do with that. And if you can get to it when the dirt is damp, oh man, you absolutely need to ride this. Get your cornering game on because this undulates up and down the hill with every turn cambered nicely and really not too many actual booters. There are some select jibs off to the sides of this trail, but most of this section is just ripping fast with some miniature sort of table things here at the end. At the time of this review, the trail ends at a clear cut that affords a wonderful view over to the other side of the same mountain we were just skiing on earlier today. That's one of the reasons I chose this trail, for this view. Come out and enjoy it before the trees grow back and obscure it again. We've got a few more years. The next trail we hit was Hidden Trail, which is accessed by just taking a left up the road at the bottom of Dirt Surfer for half a mile until you find the entrance on the right. So there's a sign there, so it's not really that hidden. This is a super techie trail. This is techie. Hidden is it's technical. The GoPro kind of flattens it out, but this is tricky. It's a lot of fun, and if you can't ride it without dabbing, it's important that you challenge yourself until you get to the point that you can ride it without dabbing. It's just so tight and chundery and techy and gnarly, and then it's over way too soon when it arrives at this launch and into a roll down. If you don't want to launch off this, you can just take the line to rider's right, and you can roll it as long as you get your front wheel over that route. I'm sure it'll make someone mad that I even said that's a line you can ride. Whatever, get over it. Anyhow, lots of fun. The double black designation is not hyperbole. All right, yada yada, we use trail forks to find our way over to the top of Bad Motor Scooter. I'd like to give you a comprehensive trail guide for this place, but gosh, it's so complicated. You really just need to get familiar with the place. Bad Motor Scooter is like, it's kind of like a park trail, kind of like a flow trail, sort of a dirt jump track. It has a bunch of steep little kickers all over it. I finally got sort of almost comfortable with them riding it this day because I had somebody else tow me in. You just have to hit them with sufficient speed and permit yourself to obtain enough vertical to clear them. Easier said than done, I know. Features sort of sneak up on you in here, and this trail it's confusing. I'll just admit it. It confused me. That's what it's really comes down to, okay? It's hard, and it outsmarted me. It needs to be sessioned to be properly ridden, but the trail builders were really thoughtful and they left ride-arounds for all the high consequence features. Like, I can't overemphasize how helpful that is for people like me who are trying to progress. I think the key to this trail is really not to check speed, which is also easier said than done. Maybe the reason I rode it sort of okay today was that my rear brake was getting flaky, really flaky. Okay, I kept having to pump up my rear brake and like keep it pumped up. You know when that happens, like your brake is getting like, if you don't keep it pumped up, then it just goes straight down to the bar and you have no brake. Okay, so I couldn't really safely check speed, so I kind of had to, I had no choice. I had to go fast. It was making me ride a lot of features faster than I normally do. Next trail up was Upper Grand Prix, which takes less than 3 minutes to ride, and maybe I should attempt greater nuance, but it's hard to call it anything other than a flow trail. That's not a bad thing, by the way. I'm not dissing on it. This is classic post canyon in here. This is the kind of thing this system is sort of known for. Just these big radar dish berms, little launchers off to the sides, and super, super fast and smooth flow. It kind of has something to do with the dirt in here too. Like the dirt in here just has a certain kind of consistency or stickiness that really lends itself well to building these kinds of features. It can get kind of tricky though, because there's usually the dirt is either too dry and it's slippery, or the dirt is too wet and then it's slippery too. When you get here at the bottom, there are some features for you to session if you want. Normally, I don't seek out flow trail, like I said, but still, it's not like I don't enjoy it when it's there. I mean, come on. When in Rome. We wanted to get over to Mitchell Ridge, so we went down Lower Grand Prix to get to Spaghetti Factory. Lower Grand Prix is rated as blue, and it's accurately rated. It's not as challenging as Upper Grand Prix, which is a black trail. And if you can keep your speed under control, it is a nice flow trail for more beginner to intermediate riders. But be really careful of the conditions. It was slippery the day I rode it, and I had a nice 180 degrees slide out.
Whoa! I used my knee pad.
Anyhow, there aren't any huge features on this. I'd say it's pretty safe for intermediate riders. From the bottom of Lower Grand Prix, we climbed up everyone's favorite hill at Post Canyon.
Short. It's too short. Oh, dude, this dirt. Woo!
You right? You sprained your thumb?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. That went from being a fun fall to a... Watch out for my spokes there.
Oh.
To a scary fall.
Things were slippery. This was our one injury today, and it happened here of all places. Of all the more seemingly dangerous things we were doing, this is where someone injures themselves. Sorry, Matt. You just never know. To get over to Mitchell Ridge from here, turn left at this intersection. Spaghetti Factory is a climbing trail. It ascends through a nice patch of woods that smelled wonderfully wet and piney and Pacific Northwesty in here the day we were in it. It's usually a pretty nice respite on a hot summer day as well. Don't make the error of going down Mobius when you get to this intersection. Never go down Mobius. Stay to the left. Mobius is a climbing trail that you absolutely do not want to descend. Oh, I made that mistake once. Never again. Anyway, Spaghetti Factory winds its way up the hill for a while, never getting too steep, just sort of acting like a nice climbing trail should act, all smooth and well graded, thoughtfully planned out and built. Eventually, you'll end up at this intersection where we went to the left because that's the way to Mitchell Ridge. I don't know where the trail to the right goes. I don't care. Here we are. The top of Mitchell Ridge. This trail is a lot of fun. It's so much fun. The trail starts out just ripping down this super smooth descent with a couple of nice and gradual curves on it as you follow along the eponymous ridge line it sits on. Eventually, it drops off to the face of the ridge that's on Rider's right, where it gets interesting. Go to the right at this split if you're boring and you want an easier line. Go left for some spice. I love this. It's so much fun. It's pretty steep and you should be careful because it can get pretty slick on the left when it's even just a little bit wet. It's hard to really explain what this trail is, let alone what it makes it so great. It's kind of a crossover between a techie trail and a flow trail. There's some mild rock gardens with pocket berms all the way down, kickers and secret gaps abound in the margins. I like this trail because for lack of a better explanation, it feels like it just rides naturally. Thankfully, no effort has been made to sanitize the tread, so if there's roots, there's roots. If there's a root in the middle of a berm, it stays. If there's a rock in the middle of a berm, it also stays. So even though a lot of features are heavily built up on this trail, it doesn't feel like an overbuilt trail. They've left some spiciness to it. There's some nuts in this loaf of fun. That said, it is still post-canyon, and the dirt and terrain around here, plus the preferences of the builder, really do lead to some pretty dramatic and fun berms, especially as you get nearer the bottom. These steep berms are super fun and almost vertigo-inducing. The trail spits you out at Seven Streams staging area. If you parked here, hey, you're good to go. If you didn't, say if you're like us and you parked at Family Man, well, you're not, and you're going to need to climb back up to the car. Cardiac is getting a little better. They're improving it. So that was a satisfying way to spend a Saturday, skiing Palmer and riding Post Canyon. One thing I will say is that when it comes to smiles per mile, I don't know, I almost feel like I'm getting a bit more from mountain biking. I feel like skiing's not bringing as much to the table these days. What can I say? But hey, I had fun doing both. One thing I can say for sure is thank you to my Patreon supporters. And I can also ask you to help me keep making these reviews. If you were thinking about skiing and biking on the same day, or maybe visiting Timberline or Hood River, maybe you found this review helpful. Maybe you're just entertained by my sarcastic antics. Maybe both. In any case, making these reviews takes time, and believe it or not, it takes money. Premiere subscriptions, cameras, computers, and travel, they are not free. You can help me cover the costs of this by, of course, subscribing and telling your friends, but also directly by navigating to the Patreon link in the description to this video. I'd especially like to thank Randy Relithford, Damon Corey, and Ty Morgan Marbett, my Loamy Goodness level sponsors, who have already had access to this video for a few days ahead of the rest of you. I'd also like to thank my Hero Dirt level sponsors listed here and everyone else who has lent their support. Now, get out there and go ride your bike. Oh, yeah, and ski. Go ride your bike and go shred some pow. That's what I say. Go ride your bike and shred some pow.